Hello, everybody. Happy Friday and welcome to the VML. My name's Haiyue. I'm here with Beky, and it's a new season! Hooray!
Let's
Woo!
go. Who's
Let's
excited? I
go.
know we are.
And it's spooky.
I
Spooky.
do I do love a good spooky.
I was
I'm
gonna
a
say
big
you're quite into the spooky stuff. I'm like more of a sunshine person.
no, I'm definitely into some spooky stuff. Halloween is my favorite holiday, has been for forever, and so
Love it.
I'm very excited for the theme of our season to be vampires and werewolves.
All right. Well, welcome to the VML. If you have joined us before or you haven't joined us before, we are a league for people of marginalized genders in the Magic community. We play 7 whole weeks of round robin. Today is week number 1 of season 6. Season 6. We've done 6 of these things. That is wild.
It feels like it has not even been that long, and we are already it feels like it's weirdly a long time and not that long of a time. It's been a really
Right.
strange in between, but 6
Mhm.
is starting to get up there. We're closer now to double digits than we previously were. I mean, that's always gonna
Whoa.
happen, but thinking about us getting to, like, a season 10 is still, like, so surreal to me.
Sorry, just moving my face into frame.
It's okay.
Yeah, no, I know it's crazy. I keep the words 6 seasons in a movie keep like flying through my head, which is great. And yeah, so we're gonna play round robin for 7 weeks. Every week, we're gonna be bringing you 4 feature matches from the week's action. And then we actually, this season is a bit different because we're going to be taking a little bit of a break for the holidays at the end of December. And then when we come back in January, we'll be having the playoff week. So everybody from the divisions who make the playoffs, which is going to be the top 2 in each division, and the 8 wild cards, which is like we don't care about what division you're in. The next 8 in the order of standings make it through as well. They're going to be coming back in January to play off in a single elimination bracket, and we are going to be crowning a champion of VML season 6 sometime in January, like 3rd week of January or so. And of course, they're going to go to the next set championship. So tons to play for, Beky. Exciting stuff to come.
So much to play for, and even if you're just hanging out in the VML, you're not really expecting to make it into that top 32, that top 16, we still are giving out 500 gems this season for each win that you get. So even if you're not really ending up in those top play positions, you're still walking away with something most of the time. And at the very least, you're getting yourself a great community full of wonderful, understanding players that have stuck with us for 6 seasons now. It's amazing, and we're always happy to help and give people a community to be around with.
And, you know, lots of people, as you say, stuck with us for so many seasons, but every season we get newbies as well, right? And that's like part of the best thing of the VML is that lots of people want to join, lots of people, discover us, come and join the community, and the Discord now is just popping off all the time. And I just love this awesome group of people that we've gathered together and we've built. So thank you to everybody, all of you, for being part of this incredible project. And we are looking forward to a bright and exciting future. And we're looking forward to some bright and exciting feature matches this evening. Beky, we don't have a metagame summary for everybody, but you and I both know. Oh, let's have a look at our
Oh,
beautiful faces.
oh,
This. This is our casting talent for the season. And you'll see some familiar faces there. Myself and Beky, obviously, the biggest heads in the whole.
one day we'll all be at the same event, or I'll see us all, and I'll just get a nice unified picture of us all so that this doesn't happen again. But for now, we've got a little bit of varying head sizes here.
And of course, a huge welcome to Aria Hogpog98, the newest member of the casting team. Aria was the champion of season 4 of the VML, has gone on to be a strategy writer for Channel Fireball, has gone on to win literally every tournament I can imagine. Is a regular on the set championship scene, and we're very excited to have Aria join us on the casting team as well. This week, though, it's myself and Beky. And we are going to take a quick look at our first feature match. As is tradition, we are bringing you the champion of VML Season 5, and it is Doria wearing her beautiful crown and...
and so is her cat.
That's her cat. Beky, I was so smug when I made this slide. I was just sitting there cackling to myself.
I can confirm that is exactly what happened, but it was also so beautiful because myself and our lovely producer Phoebe were also just sitting there giggling to ourselves because it's so cute. It's so perfect. I absolutely love and adore this, and also kind of love and adore this little bit of a change on the Izzet style of deck that Doria is playing. And I don't believe it is actually Temur mid-range. I don't think there's any green in there that I can see. That could be a little bit of a typo, but I do believe that we are looking at a pretty typical Izzet list with some just, some taking some turns, some control, some dragons. What Izzet does, this is what Izzet does. And, okay, it is a Temur list. Has a little bit of
it's
green.
a Temur list. I mean, it looks very...
I'm just trying to find the green in it.
Are you trying to... Oh, did we not put the... Maybe we didn't put the picture. Maybe I got too excited about the crowns. I was like, it's probably got some dragons and some epiphanies in it. So I do not know what happened there, but I can tell you that it's basically imagine all the good cards and just put them in that deck list part.
Okay.
So like dragon, chariot, epiphany, ramp cards, just whatever you want. Let your imagination run free.
That sounds like every good card in Magic, at least in Standard.
It literally
is
every good card in Magic.
What could possibly go wrong?
What could go wrong? Nothing could go wrong, right? Although Doria did say, I didn't put this part of Doria's answer in, but I asked, why did you pick this deck? And she said, how can I say no to a deck that plays Goldspan, Chariot, and Epiphany? And then she said, brackets, do not play this deck. So...
I love that little bit of a disclaimer. And we know Doria won the previous season of the VML playing a mono white aggro list. So I think this is a very interesting switch up from a list that we know was something that she previously picked up and had a lot of comfort with and performed very well with. And I think it'll be interesting to see how Doria goes forward and pilots a very different style of deck.
I pulled up the deck list, Beky. It's basically Gruul.
Okay.
It's basically Gruul mid-range. Just Rare Sentinel, Magda, Brybridge Tracker, Dragon, Ren and 7.
Okay. So again, just all the good cards.
All the good cards. All right. Let's have a look at the other side of the battlefield. Who is Doria playing against? It is Ruby Polanco. And Ruby, first of all, has one of the best t-shirts I've ever seen. Just Garfield.
Is it just Garfield and it says gamer?
Yeah,
I love it.
It's so good. And Ruby has actually brought Izzet Dragons for reals this time.
I actually think that I don't know. I think this was one of the easiest lists that we decided to feature the matchup of. We just kind of looked at Temur and we were like, ooh, this is kind of spicy. And then we saw Izzet Dragons and we kind of knew that we were doomed to do a lot of Izzet Dragons and a lot of Izzet Turns and a lot of mono green aggro. Those are just the three most dominant decks in the format right now. So we knew we were going to be featuring a lot of those, and we were kind of just looking for some off meta picks to throw alongside it. And we were like, oh, this Temur deck has got some really cool things happening in it. Let's see how it fares against this Izzet Dragons deck. And it's kind of interesting to try and decide what I think is going to have the better matchup here. So I'm very eager to get down into this game.
All right, well, let's go down to the action and see whether Doria can continue her undefeated streak in the VML or whether we're going to see Ruby pull it off here with Izzet Dragons. We are going to be watching from Ruby's perspective, and this hand is pretty nice. Expressive Iteration, Auron's Epiphany, and Smoldering Egg as well.
I know you're a big fan of Smoldering Egg.
I am such a big fan of it. I'm trying to do that I'm so professional. Yes. Smoldering Egg.
You
that
can
is
be
the name of the card.
You can be professional and still love that card and love what it can do. It's going to be getting a bunch of counters for all the spells that this deck wants to cast, playing some of these bigger spells as standard is a little bit doomed to do, and just making sure that at the end of it, we get a big dragon that's going to shoot out some damage along the way.
So Ruby is actually deciding to keep 2 lands there and put the Prismari command back. What do you think is the reason for that?
I think looking at what is in the hand for Ruby right now, it's that Arlen's Epiphany and that Goldspan Dragon, the Shadow Skull Smashing, which can be played as a land, but is probably going to wait to as long as possible. And just trying to have the land drops to actually get to casting these really big spells. I think in like a very mid-range versus mid-range matchup, which this kind of is, the side of the Izzet deck has a little bit of control aspect to it, but for the most part, it is also just a big mid-range deck. The deck with the bigger, badder spells with more power and more 2-for-1s basically, which the Izzet deck is full of, is going to win. So I think Ruby is just trying to decide to make land drops, get to those big spells, call it a day.
Talking about big spells, there's a second copy of Goldspan Dragon to join the first one in hand, and it's dragon time. Well, let's get these boys flying through the air.
And it could potentially fly into this Jaspara Sentinel, but I don't think we'll be seeing a block just yet. Doria has got 21 life to play with throughout this game, and I don't think taking 4 here is going to be too bad, but probably will make a little bit of a gruff about this making of treasure.
So it does take the 4. Doria, after a little bit of a slower start, doing a bit of mana setup, getting the Innkeeper down, getting Jaspera Sentinel down, maybe really trying to find some of these big hitters that we saw and we talked about in her deck.
Yeah, it's interesting actually, the Prosperous Innkeeper and the Jaspara Sentinel remind me a lot of something like the Winota decks that we were previously seeing, the like Naya sort of style. Just the ability to get you a ton of mana, the extra little bit of ramp that the Jaspara Sentinel can add, getting us further and further, a little bit of ramp, and leading us into this Renin 7.
Doria playing beautifully around that Jawari disruption that we know is in Ruby's hand.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if, I imagine one of these Shadow Skull Smashings is going to bolt Ruby on the next turn to be able to Alrund's Epiphany and try to get rid of this Renin 7 before that Tree Folk starts to get out of hand.
Yeah, you see Ruby reaching for that Alrund's Epiphany in the Foretell zone.
Oh, this is interesting.
Okay.
But both of these Goldspans attacking will give us 2 treasures that we'll be able to sacrifice for a total of 6 mana, so we'll be able to cast this Alrund's Epiphany anyway.
So here they come, the 2 dragons flying on in, going for the face, just ignoring Renin 7 for now, but of course, Shadow Skull Smashing is a possibility. There's the Alrund's Epiphany. And we're going to flip that Smoldering Egg into the Ashbelth Dragon side as well. Such a powerful spell. Once it's become that dragon, we have seen this card just start mowing down the creatures on the other side of the battlefield. And here we go, Shadow Skull Smashing. 2 for 1, take down the Renin 7, take down the Sentinel, go to face. And Ruby Polanco in dominating position in game number 1 against Season 5 champion Doria.
And this is kind of a great spot to be in if you're Ruby. The Jawari Disruption maybe isn't the best card in the deck, and especially not late, but if Doria tries to do any kind of multiple spells here, it's going to be harder and harder to cast those multiple spells into this Jawari Disruption and be able to stay alive. Not to mention that counterspell is also going to deal a bit of damage.
Counter spells that deal damage are the best. Speaking as an Izzet player.
And,
I just want everything to be ionized. Just give me ionizers all day long.
Ionize, great card. Wish it could see more play, maybe give us a little bit of a reprint, but for now, instead, Doria is going to try and stay alive using multiple Jaspara Sentinels, trying to gain a bit of life, but it's got to be so rough. Ooh, a Quandrix command.
Okay, all right, so we're going to see Quandrix command return the Ashmouth Dragon. Of course, that makes it back into an egg, and put 2 counters on the Sentinel. Ashmouth, this Jawari Disruption isn't going to counter the spell, but is going to shock Doria for 2 in the face. And the tightest of margins now in this game, Doria just clinging on by a thread.
Yeah, and this is a little bit rough because even though you just put 2 counters onto this Jaspar Sentinel, it's still not big enough to block and trade with this Goldspan Dragon, and you have to put one of these creatures in front of a Goldspan Dragon, one of them in front of a 1/1, if, of course, the Shadow Skull Smashing wasn't about to come down and ruin all of Doria's hopes and dreams by dealing a whopping 6 to each of these Jaspar Sentinels.
Yeah, rocks fall, Doria dies in game number 1, and we are going to go to the sideboard. What can this Dragon's deck do to make this matchup even better?
I don't know. After watching how decisive that first game was, it doesn't really seem like there's much more that Ruby needs to do in this matchup. Potentially just bring in a few more, something like these Pyroclasms in case game 2 doesn't go quite as smoothly as game 1 managed to go, and just get some things that'll take care of some of the smaller creatures and make Doria stumble, because I think the only way that Ruby loses a game against this deck is if hers doesn't function and get to that like penultimum like 5th, 6th turn.
Thinking about bringing some Malevolent Hermits in. There's also... It's interesting when you're trying to sideboard against something like the team of mid-range deck, because they just have every threat in the book. Usually you're like, okay, I want my Hermits against the Epiphanies or against Counterspells, or I want my Burning Hands against Ren and Seven, or whatever it is. But now you're like, oh no, they have everything.
Yeah, this is a little bit rough. I do think the Burning Hands should come in. I think they'll be good against the Eska's Chariot. They'll be good against the Ren and Sevens. Ultimately, just like something that you want to have in your deck. And I'd like this taking it, the Dragonspires out. They're kind of doing the same thing, but Burning Hands is going to be better against all the threats that you want to actually be shooting down. So going for the, I guess, slightly more damage cheap spell is just the better swap here.
Wow. Thinking about this copy of Fading Hope as well.
I think I like taking it out. The times or the things that you're going to want to be returning to hand are just things that have other ETB triggers, and you're not playing enough disruption that you're really giving that much permission. So I like taking out the Fading Light as well.
All right, so Ruby goes down to 6, but is on the draw for this game number 2. Just has to win this one to get through this week 1 match against Doria. This 6 looking really nice though. There's the Smoldering Egg again, Malevolent Hermit straight out the sideboard, and Expressive Iteration. One of the most powerful cantrips ever printed.
Yeah, you can tell it's extremely powerful when an uncommon ends up being borderline $9 to buy in paper. It's like Fatal Push all over again.
Iteration is $9?
I think the last I checked, the cheapest I could get some for were like $6.50.
Oh my goodness. The problem is that Strixhaven was one of those pandemic sets, right? So I didn't get to draft it a lot in paper, and I think that's going to come to bite me further down the line as Ruby gets on the board with these 2 drops. Hermit coming in, Egg ready to have those counters put on it. And Doria, after a little bit of a slow start again, no plays just yet, although it does have a card in Fortal.
That's got to be so rough for Doriable. I think, I've mentioned this before. I think that the way that Doriable's deck is going to win is by getting an explosive start onto the board really quick and start putting in the damage early. And since Ruby is still at 20 life, I'm really scared that we're just going to see a repeat of last game.
Just has that Innkeeper. And yeah, you're right. We haven't really seen like the Magda, the early chariots that we're kind of used to seeing out of the, should we say, more strictly Gruul version of these decks. And that can be the danger when you start adding a third color or start adding bigger, more expensive cards to your mid-range deck, is that you're just often not going to get that start that you're looking for.
Finally, a blue mana for the side of Doria. That's got to be a nice little sigh of relief here. And now hopefully something powerful to follow it up with.
It is kind of interesting. This Malevolent Hermit, honestly, I had some doubts when Ruby was sideboarding, but it's kind of sweet, right? Like, it's kind of sweet against the Chariot, against Red and 7. It's just sat there saying, you can throw something at me if you want, but I'm just going to become more annoying on the other side.
I've also been slightly impressed kind of watching it. It's been able to sit there, and Ruby has done a good job of like making plays, steadily being able to get land drops and just like hold up that extra mana. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. Doria can't let that be happening. And that's why Doria is falling further and further behind in this game.
Iteration doing what it does best, finding more iterations.
Finding more iterations, and now looking at this memory deluge, trying to decide, ooh, am I close enough on land drops to want that? And it looks like Ruby will decide that that is the case. Memory deluge into hand. And unless Doria is going to have a really explosive turn coming up, I'm really concerned that Ruby's just going to run away with this game.
So Demon Bolt is going to try to take out the Smoldering Egg. In response, we're going to see Ruby tap out to try and dissipate it. Doria has the second Demon Bolt. So here now maybe is a window for Doria, having made Ruby tap out on her turn and Goldspan Dragon hitting the battlefield. Doria looking in a little bit of a better position now.
A little bit better indeed. Goldspan Dragon going to make us 2 more treasures and potentially 4 mana, but Doria choosing not to use it this turn.
Yeah, I would have liked to see something like an Essica's Chariot. Maybe just get that
just to help us a little bit more, you know?
But now Doria, working with plenty of mana, can pay for the Malevolent Hermit tax should she need to.
Oh, this is going to be... Yeah, this is going to start to be a little rough, because at least if you're on Doria's side, this 3 mana has got to be really scary to run into, especially this Malevolent Hermit. You're trying to do big things to keep up with Ruby's deck, but Ruby's deck just has enough permission to kind of scare you into making some decisions that maybe aren't going along with your game plan at this point.
Ruby with a Memory Deluge in hand to refill. Dragon's Fire is going to target the Goldspan Dragon. Look at this. That's mana efficiency right there.
Oh.
So sweet. Burning Hands the find, as well as another land.
All right, not the worst thing in the world for Doria, but at least we're attacking with this Goldspan Dragon now. That Goldspan Dragon is going to make us some treasures, and the more treasures we have, the easier it will be for us to pay for this Malevolent Hermit that's been peskily sitting on the field.
Double Innkeeper now for Doria. Gets that Disparate Sentinel down as well. So as you say, oodles of mana. Lots of life gain going on as well, thanks to these Innkeepers, should Doria find more creatures to trigger them. Ruby has that second dragon that we talked about before. But this is kind of the last piece of action for now out of Ruby's hand.
I guess I like this choice to foretell. At first, I thought it was a bit strange, but now thinking about how we would only have mana to do either the Saw It Coming or the Burning Hands anyway, with only 5 or 4 mana, I do like this decision to just leave up 2. It does feel a little awkward that we left it as a treasure, because now if the Goldspan Dragon gets I guess that would give us a second treasure. No, this is fine still. The more I talk through it, the more I'm happy with this decision. Yeah.
I love that when covering matches. I'm like, why did they do this? And then as you're describing it, you're like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. Third innkeeper. So this Doria's physical establishments are very well staffed.
Kind of pillow forting on the other side.
Yeah, I'm just glad that it's I'm just glad that it's prosperous innkeeper and that we've finally left the oppressive rule of Edgewell innkeeper.
Mm-hmm.
Scarred for life, but we made it.
I think we all got a little scarred for life from that set.
Yeah.
Some of us more than others, but you know. A second Malevolent Hermit is I mean, you're going to play it if you draw it, but I don't think this is a card that you really want to be seeing two of, because usually if an opponent is playing around one, they'll play around another. And with the life gain that Doria has been able to get, and the lack of, I guess, really potent draws on the side of Ruby, Doria is actually pulling ahead at a nice pace and keeping a level head here.
And don't forget, Doria has a couple of layers of the Hydra down on the battlefield as well. And with a bunch of treasures, 6 treasures, which thanks to the Goldspan Dragon, of course, those are doubled. We could be seeing some pretty chunky layers of the Hydra coming across.
Very true. With a total of 18 mana to be used on the side of Adorable and only 2 cards in hand, it'll be interesting to see exactly which is the play, and it looks like it will indeed be a chunky Hydra.
Let's go. Yeah, fire that up.
I think it's a little sad. I maybe would have liked to see 1 more mana spent for it to be an 8/8 just to like really force a block. We could potentially see Ruby say, 7's good. I'll go to 1 and not really worry about it. But, okay. To start us off, we've got Decisive Denial.
Yeah,
okay.
It's going to try and fight. And Saw It Coming says, no, thank you.
I do not wish to fight. I wish to have my dragon block. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Denial denied. Oh. And
it does seem a little weird that a card Decisive Denial can get countered, but
yeah. Still though, you know, Doria got that counterspell out of hand, right? Forced a bunch of blocks here. That Goldspan Dragon on the other side is gone. Sure, Burning Hands, that can finish off this lair of the Hydra, but Ruby is just throwing resources at essentially a land that Doria doesn't really need that much anymore. Has another one on the battlefield as well.
But now with a bunch of 1-power creatures, Doria could be left in a poor position to try and finish out the game. 4 1/1s are not that great at dealing 8 life. They're better at dealing like the final 3 amount, but this 8 could potentially be the exact life total Ruby needs to stay in this game.
Hall of the Storm Giants is also a pretty nice one for Ruby.
Oh, yeah. Ooh,
that thing is big.
Final mana spent to flashback Memory Deluge here.
Yeah, this is what I want to see. Double Epiphany. Let's go. As soon as Ruby untaps, she is like, you know, I'm just going to be taking all the turns for the rest of the game, hopefully.
And that's actually a really great sign that we were able to see that Hall of the Storm Giants. Otherwise, those Alrund's Epiphanies may not have looked so good. At 8 life and with like really only 2 damage that we could be pushing through in the air, Doria at 16, that Hall of the Storm Giants might just be the power that we needed to make those extra turns kind of worth it.
Let's fire up the lair of the Hydra again. And it's going to be an attack again. One of the Inkeepers is going to get et by that Geist. But now we see Ruby can't play these fast enough.
Slamming them. Oh, this is going to be a close one, actually. The third Malevolent Hermit, all the Malevolent Hermits from the sideboard.
Yeah, this is more than lethal with an extra turn as well. Doria down to 8 from this attack. There's a hole completely tapped out, no blockers available. And we're going to see Ruby Polanco defeat VML Season 5 champion Doria in week 1 in their division. I believe they're coming from division number 7. So great job there from Ruby. And the first win in the books for Izzet Dragons tonight.
And I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm going to expect more wins from Izzet Dragons, but it's the best deck in the format for a reason. It's the reason that we have about 40+% of our metagame being that Izzet Dragons list. It's because it's good. It's because it's strong. But that being said, a lot of people probably came into this week very prepared to play against the Izzet Dragons list, and I'm hoping that we potentially get to see some of the styles of decks that are meant to beat the Izzet Dragons lists.
Well, let's find out what our next feature match is going to be. Let's cue it up. Coming from division number 3, which is my division, by the way, we have Kayla. And Kayla has brought mono green aggro. I would say the aggro deck of choice in this format.
I would agree. I think it's close between mono green and mono white, but I do think that this mono green aggro deck just has a little bit more potency. And if it gets onto the battlefield quick, it gets onto the battlefield quick and it hits hard. All of these creatures are extremely mana to power and toughness efficient. And the extra little bit of whammy you get from being able to play something like these Lair of the Hydras and these Faceless Havens with these snow-covered lands. And I think the personal MVP of the deck, Blizzard Brawl, is just such a brutal card. If you're
eating
for 1 mana, it's insane what that card can do, and it's literally the reason mono green decks are playing Snakeskin Veil in the sideboards.
Oh, Snakeskin Veil also, especially against these Izzet lists, really great against like Divide by Zero or Burning Hands. You just 1 mana counter spell. It's just honestly, this mono green list is so sweet. The creatures are so good. The Old Growth Troll in particular, I find it's just incredibly difficult for a lot of these decks to deal with. And Beky, we didn't really say it at the beginning, but I wanted to point out and also congratulate you because the rebrand of the VML with all of these brand new graphics is absolutely stunning. And a lot of that is due, of course, to the work of Beky, who tirelessly listens somehow still to my relentless demands for more work.
It's kind of great. I don't know. I think it's beautiful to kind of look at exactly like what we looked like in season 1 and season 2 and our early seasons and see just like how much our production has really stepped up to become just like more professional. And I just love that it's a professional representation of us as a community.
Yeah, absolutely. And all of our players, of course, more than deserving of having their talents showcased in this way. So mono green aggro for Kayla. Let's have a look at what she is fighting against. And it is a Shadowcloak, and they have brought Izzet Dragons.
And this is the matchup that we expected to see over and over again. I think this is the marquee matchup of the format right now. Years back when you're talking about like the 2 decks that were in the format before Crimson Vow came out, we're going to be talking about Izzet Dragons and we're going to be talking about mono green. And it might change a little bit when Crimson Vow comes out, but I think that's going to be kind of like the very interesting thing to see since it is its own kind of set. It's not a part of a block. It'll be interesting to see what new mechanics that are coming out from Crimson Vow are going to either add or make some other deck more dominant.
Shout out to Shadowcloak as well, who has 2 VML top 8s. So you can see them say that gotta keep trying for the crown, and they're an incredibly accomplished player. And great to see them back again, trying to get that top prize with Izzet Dragons. Let's go down to the feature match area and find out who's going to come out on top. We have Shadowcloak on the upper half of your screen. And Kayla with mono green aggro here. We're going to see a bit of hand cam action from Shadowcloak at the top. Ooh, double Blizzard Brawl, Werewolf Pack Leader, and Kazandu Mammoth for Kayla.
It's a great hand if you're in mono green. I mean, it could be better. The second Blizzard Brawl could be something else, preferably like another creature. But I don't think I would ever ship this hand back. I mean, maybe you do if you're like really worried about Blizzard Brawl not being great in this matchup. But if you get the chance to really like take down a golden egg or something, I think or not a golden egg, a smoldering egg, I think it's very much worth keeping. But that Werewolf Pack Leader does get immediately taken down with a Thundering Rebuke.
You cannot let that stick around. When Werewolf Pack Leader starts attacking and starts drawing cards for the mono greenness, especially when they have two of them on the go, it just gets out of hand so quickly. And Shadowcloak finds a second Thundering Rebuke off the top. Could answer this Kazandu Mammoth this turn, should they choose to do so.
I kind of feel like that is exactly the play to
just
do.
Get out of here.
Yeah, you just don't want any creatures to be sticking on the field for the mono green side. It's kind of the same thing as the last matchup that we were just talking about. This mono green deck wants to kind of kill the Izzet Dragons deck as fast as possible, and Izzet Dragons just wants to make land drops and get to those turn 5, turn 6, turn 7 spells.
Old Growth Troll now for Kayla. Took a turn off, as it were, to just get in with the Faceless Haven for 4 damage, but has now found another 3 mana threat. So down comes the Florahedron and down comes the Troll. So dissipate, a huge blowout here for Shadowcloak.
Yeah, that's definitely a bit rough. You don't want to be seeing your Old Growth Troll be taken far, far away. So a little sad to be seeing that as what Kayla runs into here. But Shadowcloak continuing to just play these spells, these filtering expressive iterations, sitting in a nice healthy 16 life, and just slowly make those land drops, and eventually we'll get to this Goldspan Dragon.
Dragon's Fire now for Shadowcloak as well. Great answer, of course, to the Faceless Haven on the battlefield. These Blizzard Brawls just rotting away in hand right now for Kayla. Sculptor of Winter, not exactly.
Oh
no. Oh no, Auto Tapper. Why?
Auto Tapper really just thinks that you don't ever want to attack with Faceless Haven, but as we can see with the hovers there, Kayla very clearly did want to attack with that Faceless Haven, and as a result of the Auto Tapper does not get to, and it happens to the best of us.
I mean, it's just tragic. If you, friends, my dear lovely viewers, you take one lesson away from tonight, it is this: never trust Auto Tapper. Just don't do it. The Auto Tapper is not your friend. Goldspan Dragon, though, is Shadowcloak's friend. Gonna come swinging. Beky, are you a subscriber to the theory that Goldspan Dragon is actually a tiny baby
dragon? I am. I'm with Nicole on this one. I think that Goldspan Dragon is secretly very small. And you know what is not very small? An entire hillside in the form of Faceless Haven that's going to try and do a little bit of a brawl with this Goldspan Dragon.
Kayla says, is this the hill you're going to die on? And Shadowcloak. Not today.
But if we've got another land to say about it, we do not want this Goldspan Dragon hanging around. You can have some treasures. I just want to be doing some attacking and not having to worry about getting attacked right back.
Oh, we're going to see Shadowcloak make that play that we saw Ruby make earlier, maybe. Yeah. Take advantage while the dragon is on the battlefield, potentially to use that mana for Memory Deluge. Wow, I can't believe I haven't thought of this is the hill you're willing to die on.
Because of
it's so chuffed.
There you go.
All
I'm
right.
also so stoked that we're getting this Goldspan Dragon off the battlefield. The cards in hand extra for Shadowcloak, not exactly what you want to be
Well,
seeing.
great.
Fading Hope, okay against Faceless Haven, but Spikefield Hazard could take care of this Florahedron, but mana is not really an issue on Kayla's side of the battlefield.
So here's Faceless Haven again. Shadowcloak at 9 life does have to start thinking about using the Fading Hope proactively. There it is. Gonna get to do a little bit of scrying as well. But it only really sets it back by 1 turn, as Kayla can just replay this Faceless Haven and start smashing in again.
Yeah, and good on Kayla to have not played a land for the turn, so in that second main phase, we'll be able to play this Faceless Haven back and try to attack with it again next turn.
See what Shadowcloak can find off the top. It's another Fading Hope.
Ugh, that's gonna be a pain for Kayla to see. 9 life for Shadowcloak means that the end is kind of in sight. It seems like there's a possibility to win, and we're gonna get a little bit blown out here, having played the land earlier in the turn, but gonna go ahead and maybe instead choose to just throw all of our just 1 mana short of being able to fully level up this Rangers class, which feels a little bit bad. Now we're going to take a moment to decide if we do want to attack with this Faceless Haven, but I don't think that that's ultimately going to be the decision.
I think we saw Kayla that, use a little bit of arena tricks, passing to the combat step to see whether there was an instant speed effect. And ultimately decides not to go for the Haven, just going to level up that Ranger class. We Shadowcloak opting to use Memory Deluge this turn. Now, Ranger class level 3, I think it's a little bit controversial, Beky. A lot of people, they see this level 3 and they think, wow, it's experimental frenzy, right? Like, I'm just going to play everything off the top. But a lot of the time, you see people hit land after land or land, Blizzard Brawl, Inscription, etc. And I don't think it's as scary as some people would expect.
I don't think it's as scary as some would expect, but I think when you have nothing in hand and a bunch of lands on the battlefield, I would rather level up to level 4 than spend my mana doing a bunch of other things.
Very fair. Shadowcloak has found a Goldspan Dragon, as well as an iteration. Down to 6 life. Get that dragon down. Are you attacking here if you're Shadowcloak?
I think you have to. Weirdly enough. I mean, your Faceless Haven's going to go up to 5. No creatures that could come off the... If we do... Let's say Kayla draws a land, levels up this Ranger class. If you find a creature and play the creature, you can't attack with Faceless Haven. So the only thing you're worried about happening are Faceless Haven activation and Kayla draws an inscription. So depending on how many inscriptions you think Kayla is playing in her deck is how you decide here if you want to attack or not.
Just going to have a little check ski. It is 2 copies of inscription in the main. So Shadowcloak going to get max info first. Finds an Aaron's Epiphany.
Oh, that's going to be great for Shadowcloak, actually.
Was there a Hall of the Storm Giants at some point? I think there was, right?
I think there is a Hall of the Storm Giants in play.
Yeah.
I think it's tapped currently, but I believe there is in play.
Yeah. So this Aaron's Epiphany could be the path to victory here for Shadowcloak. It's very careful to think about that inscription. Yeah, get in. This is what we want to see. You have to win the game somehow.
Yeah, I actually really like this play. Ooh.
Okay.
It is still 1 mana off.
Oh my goodness.
And a snakeskin veil on the top, just like you talked about. That's gotta be
okay.
such a heartbreaker for the side of Kayla, and now at 12 life, I think Shadowcloak should just be able to chain a lot of this Goldspan Dragon, this Auron's Epiphany, and be able to get this last bit of damage out, or at least put themselves in a lot better of a situation against where Kayla is.
Goldspan is 4 this turn. That puts Kayla down to 8. 6 next turn with the 2 birds. So Kayla, and enough mana potentially, of course, to come in with that hole as well. It's going to force the block with the wolf. And that is going to do it, we think, for game number 1. So, this is the archetypal matchup of this standard format. Mono green aggro getting out there early, trying to do some damage. Kayla got Shadowcloak down to 6, but ultimately dragons coming out ahead as we go to the sideboard.
That's actually really heartbreaking if you're on the side of Kayla too, because there was a round where the auto tapper prevented that Forsaken, that hideaway from attacking. And if that hideaway had been able to attack, so many more draws would have been lethal there for her on that final turn.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Hashtag never trust auto tapper.
Yep, tap those lands. It'll be interesting to see how Kayla chooses to decide to board here. I feel like the unnatural growth is one of those kind of back and forth cards, but has gotten a lot worse since things like Fading Hope have come into the deck and Divide by Zero.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time with these mono green lists, they're taking out the top end, the stuff that's bad against counter spells. Unnatural growth, great in the mono green mirror, of course. Some consideration for Ren and 7 for the to block the dragons. Tango Trap coming in as well. So a little bit of everything for Kayla as we look over to what Shadowcloak was up to.
Yep, those burning hands coming right in.
Yeah, get those in. Oh, couldn't click on them fast enough.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty kind of standard sideboard decision. Kind of the same thing that we talked about in the last game, taking out some of these top end cards, a copy of Memory Deluge, a copy of Auron's Epiphany, some of those bigger cards that if your opponent does get off to a really quick start is the easiest way to lose. So you just take out some of that higher card density and put in some more interaction for those early turns.
Yep. Let's see whether Shadowcloak can take this one down in 2 or whether we're going to see Kayla bring it back and force a decider here in our second feature match of the evening. Sculptor of Winter, Werewolf Pack Leader, and Unnatural Growth, joined as well by a copy of Snakeskin Veil for Kayla.
The Snakeskin Veil is great to have and probably would have been what Kayla would have preferred to have in that first game over those Blizzard Brawls, but nonetheless, going to be pretty okay this game as well. And Unnatural Growth, a little bit interesting to see one was kept in, but if we're able to find some more creatures before we get to that 5 mana position, should be able to do or help us push out a lot of damage. At least I'm sure that's what Kayla's hoping for as well.
Let's see what Shadowcloak is working with. We saw Shadowcloak put back a hand that was essentially a bunch of lands and 2 Goldspan Dragons. This one looking a lot more interactive. Burning Hand, Thundering Rebuke, Divide by Zero, and Prismatic Command, all able and very willing to take out creatures on the other side of the battlefield.
But hopefully this Snakeskin Veil will have something to maybe not say about the Sculptor of Winter, but hopefully be able to protect this Werewolf Pack Leader, but potentially maybe not on this turn if we decide to play this Lara the Hydra. And I think this hover is Kayla deciding, do I want to save this protection for my Werewolf Pack Leader, or do I want to go ahead and play the tap land? And I like this decision to go ahead and hold up the Snakeskin Veil to protect this Pack Leader.
Yeah, absolutely. When that's the only creature you have right at that moment, it's suddenly very key to make sure you have the Snakeskin Veil available. See Kayla just hovering over it.
Good, and playing this tap land before the 5th land, Unnatural Growth next turn, has this Blizzard Brawl, probably not going to be used for a while, seeing as there are no creature cards in the hand of Shadowcloak. but instead going to try and get in some damage and keep holding up the Snakeskin Veil to protect.
Shadowcloak opting to hold up Divide by 0 and take the 3 damage for now. May see some action here in the end step. Oh, and it is going to be Divide by 0. Shadowcloak opting to tap out, and Snakeskin Veil is going to deny not only the bounce effect, but also the learn ability.
I don't think the learn ability is all that important for the side of Shadowcloak. I suppose you'd probably like to be able to get the one that'll find you a basic land, but having something like this Burning Hands or this Fading Hope to handle whatever this Werewolf pack leader is going to become is just as nice instead.
So here's our natural growth. Okay, let's tapping out, putting it all on the table. And there it is, Burning Hands from Adventures in Forgotten Realms. Takes care of the threat, and now this unnatural growth is sitting down on the battlefield with only a layer of the Hydra to pump up. Though that one is pretty interesting as it gets around the Divide by 0 that you see in Shadowcloak's hand. Although, of course, it can still be targeted by the Fading Hope, as that says creature on it.
Yeah, and that's going to be a little unfortunate for the side of Kayla this turn. But then hopefully if this game keeps going a little while, hopefully that damage from this layer of the Hydra will be able to accrue a little bit of advantage for Kayla's side, though time is starting to run out, and this Memory Deluge is going to try and close that gap for Shadowcloak.
So there's the Fading Hope. And you're right, you know, this layer of the Hydra, we talked about it before, unnatural growth doesn't do a lot when there are no creatures, but you only really need 1 or 2 threats down for it to become incredibly impactful. Divide by 0 is going to send it back to hand for now. There's Environmental Sciences. Gain a bit of life for Shadowcloak, find another land. Opting to keep up Memory Deluge this turn. Oh, and big relief hours for Kayla, finding a Werewolf pack leader off the top.
Yeah, that pack leader couldn't come soon enough. It's always scary to be looking down and not seeing any creatures on your side of the field when you're playing a deck like this mono green deck, especially when you have an unnatural growth in hand. So at least this unnatural growth was going to back up this there, the Hydra, and now it has a Werewolf pack leader to back up. So that's got to feel pretty good if you're Kayla.
To remember that Kayla has to win this one and the next game in order to come out on top, whereas Shadowcloak just has the 1 game to go after taking down game number 1.
And deciding here about Memory Deluge, and I imagine you're at this point trying to find like some gold span dragons and some Alrund's Epiphanies, but it looks like we just got another expressive iteration of Burning Hands, but then on top of the library have that gold span dragon, and I think now we're going to be seeing Shadowcloak start to get into a more commanding position in this game.
Finds a Burning Hands, finds a dragon, iteration, keep digging, sciences to get more lands. What more could you want if you're an Izzet player? Well, I guess Epiphany.
Yeah, you want an Epiphany, but I was going to say not a whole lot more. Looking pretty good in this situation for the side of Shadowcloak.
Even finds the Burning Hands. That will be enabled by Sciences getting a beautiful full art Nyx Mountain out of Shadowcloak's deck.
And just like that, some very hot hands take down the Werewolf pack leader. Werewolves already have the fur, don't like to be much warmer than they already are. And now it's time for Old Growth Troll to take a step up to this plate. But there's more hot hands in the hands of Shadowcloak. We're getting some strange. I've been doing a lot of other game casting, and
It's all kinds of things.
Hot hands is it's an ability in Valorant.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. All right. I was like, where is this coming from? Is this some like Zuma lingo that I'm too old to understand?
No, it's an ability in Valorant, and so it's stuck in my head. I apologize. But burning hands is just some really hot hands.
All right, so here's a Blizzard Brawl. We know, of course, there is a Fading Hope for Shadowcloak.
Fading Hope is not fading Shadowcloak's hope, though. If anything, it's going to make Kayla's hopes fade further and further away in this game. But the Dragon's Fire also going to try and just take care of this old growth troll before it can square up against Goldspan Dragon.
Beky, your graphics are beautiful, but maybe you should leave the punning to the expert.
I know Caroline isn't here, so I've got to do a little bit of the
You got to do it. You got to carry the mantle.
Yeah, exactly. If Caroline was here, she would agree with me.
Yeah, unfortunately, Caroline is currently at my FNM. Having made her way back to Vancouver after being in Denver for the summer. Oh, and here, look at this. This is cute, right? Here's a baby there of the Hydra, X1. Gets double to an X2.
Not too bad. That little bit of damage could be one of the things that really helps Kayla stay in this game, though it's got to be really scary to be staring down a Goldspan Dragon, and finally 6 lands plus treasures for the side of Shadowcloak is going to enable any kind of big spells or really massive turns that Shadowcloak wants to be having to close out this game.
And Florahedron off the top, not really what Kayla was looking for. And that is the pitfall of this kind of deck where you are playing these mana accelerants, you know, these 2-drops that don't do a lot other than get you out on the board faster, because when you draw them in the late game, they look pretty stinky.
I'm a little sad that you're calling Tangled Florahedron stinky, but I understand the sentiment and what you mean in this situation. It is not very good, and in a lot of ways, I would almost debate just playing it as a land. However, with this unnatural growth, it can at least be a 2-mana 2/2, and I love me a bear, so I'm not going to complain about that too much. And we'll also be able to at least just go ahead and make this Lair of the Hydra pretty big and try to get in some damage with it.
All right. Let's go. Let's fire up the Lair. This is threatening 14 damage. It's out of range of Burning Hands, even on the front side. There is a Fading Hope. Send that one back. Honestly, it's been a while, Beky, since we've seen an unsummon be so important in Standard.
Oh, I feel like unsummon was important in the Jeskai Vodrak deck a little bit ago, wasn't it? Or at least it was something that you played in certain
but it wasn't.
matchups.
You were unsummoning your own things.
That's true. That's true. It's different. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Certainly, unsummon was good for, yes, returning your Vodrak and being able to storm off a little bit. In this deck, it's good for keeping all of these pesky creature lands off of the battlefield and in hands of opponents so that we don't take that extra damage if we're playing this as a Dragon's deck. And Shadowcloak is in a commanding position. This is 11 damage, which won't be enough to edge it out, but we have a lot of treasure as well as this Prismari command. Yep.
It was so close, Beky. I was going to be like, commanding position, perfect setup for this Prismari command. That's going to do it. It's going to be lethal for Shadowcloak, starting off their campaign 1-0 in Division number 3. So great stuff there from another victory from these Izzet Dragon decks. And Beky, this may be a sign of things as they stand in the format right now.
I can't say many of us are that surprised that a deck that has been, since its creation, kind of been decided to be the strongest deck in the format. People keep trying to change it a little bit here and there, but ultimately that is its style. Taking turns with Goldspan Dragon just turns out to be really good. So I'm not too surprised that we saw those decks pull ahead. I do think it's a little bit of a heartbreaker that some auto tappers were the results of some of our games, but that's a part of Magic Arena, the client that we're playing on. Just do a little bit of playing. Never trust auto tapper. You gotta tap those lands yourself. And we'll be tapping some more lands after we take a little bit of a break. I believe we have some interviews to show our lovely viewers.
Yeah, stick with us. Beky and I are going to go away for a couple of minutes. Enjoy the interviews. We'll be back with our other 2 feature matches after this.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I am your hostess of Howls, Nicole Callahan, also known as Lady of the Crease, joined here by VML competitor Ruby. Ruby, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, what's up? I'm doing great.
Yeah, it's Eternal Night, so it's pretty good here, around here right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know those vampires are celebrating at the moment, but there's plans to crash that wedding, including our very own Arlen. Now, as we get into Crimson Vow, have you been able to see some of these previews? Are there any cards that really are like exciting to you, you're looking forward to build with or to play with or anything like that?
Yeah, I have been keeping up with the spoilers. I'd have to say my favorite card is Chandra Dress to Kill. For the record, I don't remember what the card does. Chandra just looks amazing. She is like truly just dressed to kill. She is so pretty in that dress. I love it. I want the full art. It looks amazing.
Does it actually matter what the card does? It's just like, like +1, you lose the game, -1, you lose the game. It doesn't matter. Like, I'd play 4 of anyway.
I do not care what it does. I just want a playset because she looks so pretty.
Right? I agree. Dress to Kill, everybody would kill for that dress, I will tell you that. So is that your favorite card that's been previewed so far?
Yes.
That should be fun. Maybe it'll put Mono Red back on the map.
Maybe.
So
Maybe.
have there been, and now as a werewolf, have there been any vampires that have caught your eye?
Any vampires that have caught my eye?
If not, we can talk about werewolves instead, because
I can always do both. I was really confused when I saw Edgar's card because I'm not keeping up with the lore. So I look at the card, I'm reading the front side, and I'm like, okay. I look at the back side, it's like, oh, he just dies. The card is just Edgar dying. And I'm like, okay.
Well, all right then, right?
I just found it funny.
Oh my gosh, I love it. It is pretty funny, especially as a team werewolf over team vampire here. Love that. Now, can I ask you, do you have a werewolf name?
Do I have a werewolf name? Not really.
No. Can we come up with one?
If you really want to. I mean, I personally just used my pre-existing name.
I mean,
but
it works for me.
Okay, I suppose.
Well, we're not going to get a new name. How about a werewolf howl to close us out? Can we get your best werewolf howl?
Okay.
Oh, thank you, Ruby. I appreciate your time. Thank you for being here, and good luck the rest of the season in VML.
Thank you so much. You have a good one.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Interview with the Vampire. I am your Mistress of Midnight, Nicole Callahan, also known as Lady of the Crease, joined here by the wonderful Leina. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm good. I didn't realize you would whisper to my face to look at you. I guess this way.
That's all right. I'm surprised these cameras work, with the whole mirrors thing and vampires, but hey, technology, right? It's great.
No, I had no idea you'd be sitting right there next to me. So, congrats.
All right, so we know we're both, hashtag Team Vampire, but I need to know, are you Team Olivia or Team Soren?
I think I'm Team Soren, but by that, what I really mean is I'm Team Rock. I really want to know what happened to the rock that Soren was trapped in. I want to know if it's okay, if it has a family. I just want to know about that rock. So yeah, I'm Team Soren.
I think that's the big question on everybody's mind right now. It's just like, what happened? The big question of Crimson Vow.
Yeah, I really want to know. Like, did he MacGyver his way out of there? Like, it's so. Yeah, I don't care about anything else about the story, to be honest. I want to know about that rock.
Everybody wants to know about the rock. Gotta know. Well, you think we'll find out?
I feel like it'd be a huge letdown for them never to explain it to us.
Right.
I think
we'll have to tweet it at Wizards and let them know that we need to know.
Yeah. If someone with actual clout can get this flavor question resolved, that would be amazing.
So besides that mystery, is there anything else that you are looking forward to most in Crimson Vow? A card that you're looking forward to play or to build around, or a deck that you're looking to build? Is there a favorite card of yours that's been spoiled? Like, what do you think so far?
I had my eye a little bit on Thalia Guardian of Raven. I realize that's kind of I don't know, like a lot of people play with Thalia, but I've lost so many games to Thalia that I'm kind of excited to maybe try playing with her and just to see what it feels like. I've gotten somewhat bored of is it Epiphany mirrors, so I am curious what Mono White will feel like. I also think that one of the pitfalls of Mono White is that it doesn't really have great 2-drops. It has Luminar Aspirant and it has Intrepid Adversary. But besides that, I don't really know what good 2-drops it has, so I've always been looking forward to having some better 2-drops in Mono White, though, I think the deck will still struggle because of bad 1-drops, and there's so many good options at 3. But yeah, I'm kind of curious to see how Thalia will go. Hopefully I have enough wildcards to get some of her. Yeah.
Oh, Thalia's a great... And listen, if you can't beat him, join him is always a good way to go.
Yeah, for sure.
And
I just want to play Thalia and have my opponent just kind of pass and just be like, all right, time walk, let's go.
Right, let's do it.
Yeah, I've lost so many blue-white versus humans in the modern matchup that I should have at some point just realized blue-white was not a good deck at the time. So yeah, but living on.
Listen, as a goblins player, Thalia was an honorary goblin, so I get it.
Yeah. Vile players love Thalia. Yeah.
All right, so just like we've got Thalia crashing standard, we got some planeswalkers crashing the party, right? Now, can you name any of the planeswalkers that are crashing this wedding?
Ooh, I feel like I cheated a little bit because of our interview prep, but I guess it definitely has to be there, right? It wouldn't make sense if he wasn't. I guess now that I think about it, there were a bunch of planeswalkers in the previous set ran into Fairy, and I don't know if they're showing up to this wedding or not. Like Arlen Cord or whatever. But yeah, I guess I don't really know any other planeswalkers that have been released since.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, Arlen is there.
I forgot Counter Dress to Kill is going to be there. It's honestly, I'm actually, honestly, I could have answered Counter Dress to Kill in the previous question because that name is just it's just, I don't know. I'm just in love with that name. And I think the promo that they came out with her is just really nice. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that is. I feel like Chandra Dressed to Kill has been the unifying force between Team Werewolf and Team Vampire. Everybody's on Team Chandra Dressed to Kill. That's the common theme so far.
Yeah, honestly, just such a hot name. Yeah, I'm so down for Chandra Dressed to Kill. Yeah.
Gotta love everything about it. Now, on Team Vampire, have you come up with a nifty vampire name for yourself, or?
Yeah, not really. I don't really know what vampire names are. I thought of Dracula / Alucard, and that is reminiscent of my own name, Leina, which is kind of a reversal of my masculine name, Daniel, without the D. So layers to that derivation. But yeah, so I guess I would just stick with Leina and be quite happy with that.
I love it.
Like Lord Leina, Mistress Leina, whatever.
Ooh, Mr. Leina, I love it. I
Or
love
like
it.
Compass Leina. Yeah. I'm down for all that.
That is fabulous. Well, Mr. Leina, thank you so much for your time and for joining us here tonight. And
Yeah.
best of luck to you the rest of the season in the VML.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, it seems like my cat has just entered the frame, so you spotted her. I appreciate you having me. It was fun. Thanks. All right, bye.
Thank you. Bye.
We're so
We're so
pretty.
cute. We're so cute. Oh my gosh.
Oh my god. So welcome back to the broadcast. You definitely didn't just see me and Beky like gazing at our own selves.
We all look so
admiring our own
cute.
progress. Thank you so much to Lady of the Crease for doing those interviews. They were incredible. I had no idea that she was gonna do the whole like werewolf get up.
I'm
Those
so
eyes
excited
were so
about it.
spooky.
No,
It was
that's what mine
amazing.
look like at night too. I guess it's
Oh,
night
yeah?
right now, and we don't look like that. The moon has to be out. I'm
Okay,
inside,
so the moon like reflects.
I know. I
off your
talked about
eyes.
becoming a werewolf, and my dog perked up in the corner. I guess you can't see him anymore. He was curled up right by me, but he decided somewhere else was more comfortable.
No, it's probably because you were looking at vampires.
Yeah, exactly. He was like,
Not about that.
not for me. But
Can I
You
tempt
know
you with
what?
some more magic?
exactly, that is exactly what you can tempt me with, and something that me and my dog are both into.
All right, well, let's have a look at our match from Division number 1 and going all the way to the top with Lydia and Sultai Ramp.
I'm excited to be seeing something like this again. I was a big fan of the Sultai Ultimatum decks that were previously being played, so I'm excited to see this be something that a lot of people are kind of playing, something inspired by it once more.
Sorry, Beky, I have to
Yeah.
apologize. Lydia
What?
does not play Sultai Ramp.
Oh no!
Even slightly.
Okay.
Lydia is playing Izzet Epiphany.
Okay. Well, we know
We
what
have a
that
little
list
bit of a
looks like.
mishap. Yeah,
It's
we
okay.
know what that list looks like. It's Izzet Epiphany. It's a classic turns, taking turns, it's expressive iteration, it's galvanic iteration, it's burn down the house, etc.
Okay.
Lydia, a combo player, wants to get Lithoform engine going in standard. Wants to play, and that's why we see her on the old Epiphany list as well, because it's kind of a combo deck.
It is kind of a combo deck. I think anytime you're playing anything that takes turns, the first thing Magic players think of is, oh, how do I take this one turn and turn it into 5 turns and then just win the game off of that? So not surprised to see that the combo heart is going strong for Lydia, but will we see that Lydia's opponent is the one playing Sultai Ramp?
Yeah, we will see Lydia's opponent being the one playing Sultai Ramp if we flip over. It is Mirandaswake, also from Division 1, with this list, and I'm actually pretty excited to see Limited All-Star Root Royal Creeper make its appearance in Standard, because I love drafting this card. Blue-green X shenanigans, my favorite format, my favorite deck in almost every limited format, great in Midnight Hunt, and doing a little bit of a job providing some mana ramp here, and with a tantalizing possibility of buying back Storm the Festal from exile.
I'm
in the
very
late.
excited to see if this deck and these cards really get to kind of sing for this deck. I think it's interesting that we aren't seeing like a little bit more removal in this deck. It's definitely trying to ramp into some of those big spells like the Renin 7 and the Alrund's Epiphany, while also just playing one of the other best cards in the format in Esseka's Chariot, and then just also trying to get removal that is ramp in the form of this Binding of the Old Gods. Binding the Old Gods, not of the Old Gods. You know, I always want them to be doing the binding, but it's them who are getting binded. Bound?
Yeah, bound. Yeah,
English
I agree.
hard?
I've said the name of that card wrong so many times that I just say binding now. If you stop
there we go.
after binding, that's the trick.
All right, that's what I'm going to be following for the rest of this tournament, though I don't know that we're going to be seeing a lot more Sultai ramp outside of this deck. I'm still eager to see how this is going to go, and if this is a matchup where the big cards out of Sultai ramp are more potent, or if the Goldspan Dragon and Alrund's Epiphany package for that Izzet deck are going to be the stronger ones.
All right, let's head over to the action. Match number 3 tonight, week 1 of season 6 of the VML. Let's go with Lydia on the match view of your screen, keeping this hand that looks like it doesn't have very many lands, but actually does have 3 thanks to those 2 modal double face cards, Jawari Disruption and Spikefield Hazard, joined by Fading Hope, Galvanic Iteration, and Test of Talent. So a pretty nice hand here for Lydia in the opening turns, although Mirandaswake getting down on turn 2 with that Tangled Florahedron, we might get to see some action pretty quickly.
And I think we will. It'll be interesting to see if we spend 3 mana to get rid of this Tangled Florahedron, or if we do something a little more mild with our turn, maybe just keep up some counter magic and try to play this that way. With all of these cheap spells in the hand for Lydia, it's just going to be deciding where exactly we want this to go, if this just where Jawari Disruption ends up being a spell we try to play, or if it's something that we just end up playing as a land.
So Mirandaswake just going to get in with the Florahedron this turn, maybe setting up for some of those big spells a little bit later on. There he is, my best boy, Reroll Creeper.
Excited to see what this card is exactly going to do. I think we have like big dreams for this card, but it'll be interesting to see if that means that big dreams are too scary for Lydia and we decide to maybe bolt it down, or if instead it gets to kind of go some bit of a distance.
Well, it's going to do a good job just providing some mana to start with. Here's Essica's Chariot. So that is going to resolve. Plenty of mana to pay for a potential Jawari Disruption. And Mirandaswake with quite a substantial board presence already.
A substantial board presence and not likely anything for Lydia's deck that can kind of wipe the board of all of these current creatures, but without thinking too much about that, this Field of Ruin is going to take out one of those dual lands for Mirandaswake so that we can get this extra land and Fading Hope away that elemental.
How about Burn Down the House?
Oh, that will get rid of some things, but we're still a little far away from playing it. I like just using this Foretell to get this Demon Bolt. I don't imagine that we see it played unless actually I could see it being used on the Essica's Chariot, since Essica's Chariot isn't likely something that would die to burn down the house. And then we'll probably see, if we don't find a land, the Jawari Disruption go into its land form.
Lydia doing a good job of keeping all of her options open here. Clearly worried about something like a Storm the Festival. You really want to get your Test of Talents off on that. You know, get the copies exiled. Here's Ren and 7 though. This cannot be disrupted or Test of Talents. We're going to see that classic curve of Essica's Chariot into Ren and 7, threatening to make 2 of these. Are they Tree Folk?
Yes, I believe they're Tree Folk.
Demon Bolt, of course. Put a stop to that.
And thankfully, this Tree Folk right now is only a 5/5, and we did draw this untapped source to make sure that it doesn't get out of range to be killed by Burn Down the House. And thankfully, for the side of Lydia, Burn Down the House also takes care of Ren and 7.
Wow. Burn Down the House is nice, huh?
Yeah, it certainly looks good there.
Yeah, it looks amazing. All right, so Aaron's Epiphany found. That's going into the foretell zone. A couple of copies of Iteration ready to be comboed, although not enough mana just yet. Lydia would love to see something like an unexpected windfall off the top.
Oh well, I mean, I guess if you say so. Haiyue is stream sniping our own stream. I don't get it. It makes no sense, but is fantastic for Lydia.
Oh no, I think that was a bit of a disaster there as Lydia tried to use Iteration to copy the windfall, but didn't have 3 red sources. So that's a little bit of an unfortunate misstep. Couldn't go again, of course. This turn, now having found that 3rd untapped source. But Miranda's like managing to get the chariot down in the meantime.
Yeah, now you've got to be really scared to not lose this last bit of your mana or your life total now if you're on the side of Lydia, not really stuck with a ton that we can do and facing down potentially at least 6 damage, and perhaps there's something on Mirandaswake that can squeak out that last bit of 3 on this turn.
So there's Eska's chariot. It's gonna come in, make another cat, do what it does best. And, you know, Lydia's life total is kind of in jeopardy here, right?
It certainly is, but as we've seen time and time again, you can be at 3 life in the Izzet turns deck and still just have 1 turn that turns into 5 turns, and those 5 turns end up being the rest of the game. And with this unexpected windfall, hopefully we're drawing up to enough cards that we're able to change these galvanic iterations with these Alrund's Epiphanies.
Oh yeah, that's plenty of mana to be working with. 7 lands on the battlefield, 4 treasures as well. Gonna at least start off with 1 iteration into the Aaron's Epiphany in the foretell zone. Could potentially untap with enough mana to go iteration Epiphany again. Has the whole of the Storm Giants on the battlefield ready to go as well. And this is just going to be lethal in a couple of short turns here for Lydia.
Yeah, 6 birds able to do quite a bit of damage, and another Alrund's Epiphany means that we'll be swinging in with 8, and then we only need 2 of the 3 turns that we have queued up to be doing this last bit of damage. And like I said, Lydia may be at 3 life, but sometimes you just need that turn at 3 life that turns into 5 turns that win you the game.
That is the power of this Epiphany version of the Izzet deck. Instead of playing the full 8 dragons in the main, it actually doesn't play any dragons in the main and just relies on that combo of the windfall of the iteration and Epiphany to close it out. We are going to go to the sideboard. Burning Hands coming straight in once again.
You know,
Nice.
name a better duo. Burning Hands and then every other deck that isn't Izzet in this format. Because
there are only really 2 decks, right?
There's only 2 decks, yeah.
There's 2 decks. There's the Epiphany deck and there's the Chariot deck.
Yes, exactly. Sometimes you can try and mix both of them up, but as we've seen so far, Izzet decks are 2-0 so far in tonight's viewing, and Lydia is going to try and make it 3-0, which would be an impressive start.
Well, not only 2-0, I think it's 4-0 in games, right? Is that right?
I feel like we watched it go to a game 3 in round 1, though I don't quite recall. That was 2 rounds ago now. I'm too excited about this Sultai deck.
Who has a memory that that's that long?
Yeah, I'm just a goldfish.
Reroll Creeper gets taken out by a Burning Hands, but is immediately followed up by a second copy. So Mirandaswake still with that ramp going. Here's the Chariot. It's going to be doing some impossible mathematics very shortly.
Oh, okay. An interesting choice of a lesson here. Kind of hanging out with just a lot of these spells in hand. Lydia still sitting at a nice 20 life on the draw, which has got to feel really good with the spells that we're about to start being able to use.
Unexpected windfall is just so insane in these decks.
It's
His
got to
chariot.
feel really good for Lydia to have that card in hand and be able to use it this turn as well.
Get rid of one of these lands that you don't need. Draw 2, make 2 treasures. All of a sudden, you're at 7 mana available. Fading Hope can do a little bit of scrying. But Lydia, with not a lot of options right now. And this is kind of goes back to what you were talking about before, Beky, where she chose to get that Teachings of the Archaic out of the sideboard. But if you're holding more cards than your opponent, Teachings doesn't do very much. Although, if you're just gonna dump all of your cards that you just drew out thanks to all the mana you have, it's a different story.
It works out a little bit nicer. And now with the board cleaned up on Mirandaswake's side of the field, this chariot is sitting pretty lonely on the battlefield, and Mirandaswake missed a land drop last turn. So while this ramp is supposed to be bringing us to these big spells, we're a little choked here on our resources.
Chariot did manage to get a good attack in at least, but no tokens to copy. And Shatter Skull Smashing, what a beating here for Lydia. Get rid of both of those creatures. Back over to you, Miranda. Let's see what she can find. If there's a Ren and 7 here, Lydia is ready with that Fading Hope.
Instead, it's just a little snake that is immediately going to go back to hand. Hopefully in the end step is indeed in the end step. Something thrown to the bottom, and instead we get dealt a Demon Bolt for Lydia's side. And I think now that we have a bunch of ways to copy extra turn spells and the mana to do so, we're just going to start trying to beat with this Hall of the Storm Giant.
Here we go, Storm the Festival. Miranda trying to crash Lydia's party here with the big sorcery out of hand. Oh no, just finds 2 lands off Storm the Festival. That is not what you want to see if you're Miranda.
Not even remotely. And you've got to feel a little bit happy that Lydia at least isn't just slamming Alrund's Epiphanies and closing this game out, but that still is not exactly what you wanted to see on that turn.
So let's see if Miranda can actually play the flashback side of Storm the Festival. It is 10 mana to flash it back. 8 on the battlefield, has a Lotus Cobra. So if Miranda has an untapped land, we could see some flashback action.
Yeah, I'm going to assume since we didn't see it immediately happen, it is not in the cards for Miranda's Wake. And luckily for Miranda, though, we're seeing, well, it won't be too lucky in a second, but at least after casting this Galvanic Iteration alongside this Demon Bolt, we will not have the mana to Hall of the Storm Giants this turn. But if Miranda's Wake isn't able to commit something else to the board, Hall of the Storm Giants will be a lethal attacker to an empty board next turn.
So many hits available for Miranda's Wake in the deck. Just passes it back. Is there any instant speed removal for Miranda?
I don't believe so.
That's going to do it. So Lydia coming in with the victory once again. Izzet going 3-0 currently on the night with the Epiphany version this time. Wow. Beky, this is done. This standard format. We've solved it.
It's solved.
Let's go home.
If you're learning anything from watching tonight, it might just be that if you can't beat them, join them. Izzet Epiphany proving to be, I mean, most of us have known this for a little while now, the strongest version of deck that you can be playing right now.
I love the Epiphany list. I have to admit, I'm super in love with it. The galvanic iteration is so broken. Even when you're
It's
not
such a cool
copying
card.
Epiphany, it's so cool. Even when you're not copying Epiphany and you're copying like Behold the Multiverse or something, it's just so ridiculous. You can be empty-handed and then all of a sudden you have 6 cards in hand. It's ridiculous. All right.
Sudden,
Great
so many
stuff.
cards. Great stuff.
Oh, that's all I
indeed.
want. I just want to draw cards. I don't even care if I win or not.
Every
I
Magic
just want to
player
sit
goes
there,
through
like,
goes through that
full
phase.
grip.
Some
Yeah,
of
just
us a lot longer than others, but we all kind of go through the all I want to do is draw cards. Me in Modern right now, excited that Mole Drifter is like a playable
Oh my
card in
goodness.
multiple decks, and I'm like, that's all I want to do. I just want to play Mole Drifter in Modern.
Are you playing the 4-color Omnath?
I was actually playing a
Style?
lot of Aspiring Spike's Esper Reanimator list.
Oh yeah, that one is super sweet as well.
It's really spicy. Do I think it's consistent? For him, maybe. For me, not so much. But he's also just a much better player than I am, so that could be playing into it quite a bit. And potentially, I'll keep with the Esper Reanimator list, or probably go to the just safer and very consistent 4-color elementals. But that being said, we only have a 1 match left to show our lovely viewers.
All right, well, let's get to it. Let's find out where we are going. It is division number 5, Annabelious MTG. Annabelious is a veteran on the VML scene, been playing, I think, for 6 seasons. I could be wrong, but I feel like it's for the whole 6 seasons. And says she wants to meet people who are new this season, which is great. And also says she's committed to casting Leah as many times as she can.
Forgive me for a second for having to go and do a quick little Google of exactly what Lear does, because I imagine I am not the only person who doesn't exactly know what Lear, Disciple of the
Okay,
Drowned
I'll tell you what
does.
Leah does, because I unfortunately had to play against Leah multiple times this
Oh,
week.
okay.
So Leah's 5 mana, 3/4, 3 blue. Spells can't be counted. That's the headline. Spells can't be counted.
That seems good.
Each instant and sword card in your graveyard gains a flashback.
Okay.
Where flashback is equal to its mana cost.
All right, so I have heard of this card. I just had not committed its name quite to memory, and surprisingly don't feel like I've either played against it much or at all. But
yeah, well, what you should definitely do, Beky, and this is just speaking from personal experience here, what you should definitely do is talk in a group chat about how much you love Izzet Turns, and then get paired against somebody from that group chat in week number 1, and then don't even think about it and just submit Izzet Turns without even considering it, and then have that person submit Leah with 3 copies of Go Blank in the main deck.
So this sounds like you're speaking from personal experience.
Yeah, I'm saying it's a very specific lesson, but it is a lesson to be learned. Let's have a look over at the other side of the battlefield. Annabelious going up against Ailsa White, and we don't have a logo for this, Beky, but I can tell you that Annabelious and Ailsa are actually part of a new team called Team Hex. So these 2 teammates got paired up against each other in week number 1, and Ailsa, I know, it's just Ailsa with the Jund Treasures list, Callahan Reclusive Painter, Goldspan Dragon, Reckless Stormseeker, going alongside Essica's Chariot, Black Removal Spells, and a super cool card that we haven't seen a lot of recently, Innistrad Predator.
I mean, we saw a lot of Innistrad Predator on previous Black-Red Sacrifice lists. I think a lot of the big reasons that you're playing green right now are just because Essica's Chariot is an insane card. And I kind of like this mixture of just playing all of those things together and just trying to see exactly what it's going to equate to. I love that Innistrad Predator is going to work with some of the sacrifice synergies that are happening at the same time. And I mean, I was very excited when I saw this deck, and I'm excited that we're not going to be watching somebody play Izzet.
All right, let's go down and not watch someone play Izzet for our final feature match of the evening. Annabelious going up against Ailsa. We're going to be watching from the blue-black side. Annabelious looking at a hand of Fading Hope, a couple of Divide's Duress, and Sedgemoor Witch, whereas Ailsa's hand looking pretty nice. A Magda, couple of Trackers, and that Innocent Predator we were talking about.
Ooh, this has got to be probably one of the better starts. I guess you maybe would like to have a Callahan instead of that second Briarbridge tracker, but I think that's got to be pretty close to a exact type of hand that you want to see at the start if you're Ailsa. And Annabelious, not too upset with this. Interesting to see that these Duresses are main board, and even more entertaining as a aggressive creature player to see that there are no non-creature spells if you're looking at Ailsa's hand.
Oh, yeah. Got him!
Certainly a little bit of a gotcha moment, but this Consider will likely be the play on Ailsa's end step, getting and making sure that we find the land drops to inevitably play this Blood on the Snow that will be taking care of creatures on the battlefield.
Find Snow-Covered Swamp. Annabelle's really thinking about this, maybe looking for something like a little bit of more early interaction. Finds 2 lands off the top anyway, so great choice. Great choice, Annabelle. Good job.
A little bit,
Nice
regardless of the choice or not. I think that lands are kind of a good thing to be seeing. Again, that Blood on the Snow going to be something that will clean up whatever Ailsa decides to play within these next few turns. But Emberstorm Predator going to be a bit of a pesky nuisance until we get to that point of taking care of the board.
Well, Innocent Predator can become indestructible as well, I believe. I'm just having a look at Annabelle's list. Is there anything that can actually get rid of an Innocent Predator forever once it's on the battlefield? I think there's some Divide by Zeros.
Yes, I believe so. And I think that that would have to be the way that you go about getting rid of this Innocent Predator, as the Blood on the Snow not going to be enough to quite do that, as it does say destroy, and we can hopefully give the Predator indestructible.
So here's Callahan. Comes in, makes a treasure, and all of your creatures that you've used treasure mana to cast come in with an extra +1/+1 counter. So nice bit of mana ramp and creature buff here from Callahan.
Ooh, yeah, hard to look at that one extra mana sitting around and know that you can't cast this Jawari Disruption, but Memory Deluge gonna make it so that we can find a Divide by Zero, the one answer we mentioned being in Annabellious' deck to make sure that this Innocent Predator doesn't get too out of hand on the battlefield.
So the second option off the Memory Deluge could be a couple of lands, could be another Blood on the Snow. Wow, this Jund list looks so sweet.
It looks really cool. And I was also playing with my mentee who's playing kind of a similar list in black-red tokens and treasure. But I like this addition of Briarbridge Tracker as well as the Esika's Chariot, just some extra cards that work with tokens and are just good filler and like really potent creatures / artifact that makes creatures to go alongside of it.
So Ailsa untapping with an absolutely massive board, presenting more than lethal here, but can choose to get this Goldspan Dragon down as well potentially this turn. Annabellia sitting on a Jawari Disruption and a copy of Divide by Zero.
This is kind of an interesting place to be in if you're Ailsa. We do have open deck lists, so Ailsa can be looking at Annabellious' list, despite the fact that they were testing partners, can also look at the exact list, see what needs to be played around, knows that one of those things is likely this Jawari Disruption or maybe some other permission spells, and choosing to kind of wait to play this Goldspan Dragon so that it doesn't get taken out before it can even flap its little wings onto the battlefield.
Emerson Predator goes back to hand, although of course Annabelious had to do that to avoid taking lethal damage in the combat step, but this does mean that Ailsa can replay the Predator this turn if she wants to.
And it looks like that will be the play. Emerson Predator hopefully going to be able to, as a result of that, also live through this blood on the snow and make sure that Ailsa's decisions are not as easy as she would like them to be.
Well, unfortunately here for Annabelious, blood on the snow can destroy everything, but yeah, that innocent Predator is too strong, and we're going to go to the sideboard. Let's have a look at what Annabelious is working with. Oh yes, Soul Shatter comes straight in. We definitely need that.
That is going to be important to making sure that Blood on the Snow can take care of all of the other things and make sure that Emerson Predator does not stay on the field. I would potentially like to see these duresses come out. I don't actually think that they're all that good in this matchup, and I would rather just have some other cards to play. Potentially keeping some in for, I imagine we'll see Ailsa bring in some more spells. So I potentially like keeping in the 2 just to be able to catch some things in Ailsa's hand, but ultimately shaving out a lot of them for those shatters.
Let's have a look at what Melly is looking for. You know, on the other side, Duress is looking really nice against the controllers.
Very nice. And that's kind of the hard part about when you're playing a control deck against one of these like kind of mid-range style decks. You're like, oh, I know you're going to be bringing in a lot of spells, but we really don't want that duress to be like how it was in that previous match where we used it and saw 5 creatures in the hand of Ailsa.
Yeah.
And so it's hard. It's hard to still keep 2 in and feel like there's a potential that you'll use it and just not be able to find anything.
This hand looking very nice though for Annabelious. Consider Divide, Bloodchief's Thirst, and a couple of copies of Sedgemoor Witch, which, you know, against this creature list maybe isn't going to necessarily be a big threat, but could provide quite a lot of blockers and life for Annabelious while they stabilize.
Yeah, I actually quite like this Sedgemoor Witch. It's going to be able to get a little bit of extra value, make some blockers, not particularly good against the double Goldspan Dragon in the hand of Ailsa or something like the Emberstone Predator, but hopefully it will be able to bridge a little bit of gap between that early game and the late game if you're Annabelious.
Goes Considering on turn number 2, finds a snow-covered swamp, so is able to get this mana development going for Annabelious. Mana development also happening on the other side of the battlefield for Ailsa. Callahan coming down. We could see a turn 3 Chariot here.
Ooh, turn 3 Chariot would be a bit of a beating for Annabelious, though we do have something like this Divide by 0 if we wanted to make sure that it didn't exactly happen this turn and is a problem for later.
Divide by 0 is so sweet. This is one of my favorite cards.
Works
so
good
well
card.
With Leo. Yeah.
And learn and being able to get environmental sciences and get something that is going to guarantee us a land next turn could potentially be extremely important for Annabelious right now.
Absolutely. And also, you know, the hidden mode on the learn, once you've maybe used up your lessons or you haven't, you don't necessarily want any of the effects you have, the rummage mode where you get to discard a card and draw a card can be really effective as well.
But we do see just hanging out, trying to make some decisions, really kind of trying to decide if we go for maybe throwing this Shatter Skull Smashing in as a land, can't really replay this Callahan, trying to decide if it's worth running out this Chariot into some counter magic. But as it's the only play that we can make, I like playing this Eska's Chariot in a place where it's either this spell or it's the Goldspan Dragons, and you've got to choose to counter one, and I'm going to try and run you out of permission.
All right, Eska's Chariot delayed for a turn. You do see that environmental sciences being taken for Annabelious. The life gain on that card, not insignificant either.
Yeah, especially in a matchup like this that is likely going to come down to actually a little bit of a life gain back and forth. Innistrad Predator, the draw has got to be quite nice, especially on this tapped out turn.
Yeah, Ailsa really has to decide here whether she values getting that Predator down that was so, so difficult for Annabelious to deal with in game number 1, or whether to go for the wide board state. I think it looks like she's actually leaning towards maybe just making some more creatures right now.
I think I respect the choice of Chariot. I think that if it's able to run away with the game, it just does. And I like going for that play, assuming that something came in out of Annabelious' sideboard that is going to make it more difficult for Innistrad Predator to stick around.
So we're going to see Sedgemoor Witch start to make these pests. And that is every time you cast an instant or sorcery. Look at Annabelious' hand. There's 4 1-mana instants and sorceries ready to not only deal with what's going on the other side of the battlefield, but make these pest tokens. This is why she's playing this card in the deck.
And pests, they will be indeed, not allowing Ailsa to get to the life total of Annabelious, and just getting to kind of sit back and wait and see exactly how this game is going to play out. Annabelious definitely playing that more late game deck that wants to get to this end point where they can cast these really large and commanding spells.
Is it Dragon Time?
Kind of thinking about it being Dragon Time. If it's not a Goldspan Dragon Time, Innistrad Predator, also a pretty spooky scaled
that's also a dragon.
Wings. I'm pretty sure it is. I would be surprised if it isn't.
No, it's actually a vampire dragon.
What?
Which I find, yeah.
Excuse me?
Yeah,
exactly.
In fact,
is. Okay.
It is an actual, it's not just me going Innistrad crazy. Like, what is a vampire dragon?
Bold
is
is
it
the
a dragon
vampire
that's wearing like a tuxedo? Like, I just honestly imagine a dragon wearing like a tuxedo with a glass of wine with, blood in it.
Bold is the vampire that sunk its fangs into a dragon and turned Innistrad Predator into a vampire.
Right. How does that? Okay,
I don't. It doesn't make any sense. But you know what? It's also really cool. Sometimes the coolest things make no sense.
It's super cool. We're living in a fantastical world. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. And so is Ailsa with a handful of dragons, a handful of painters, and a bunch of cats, all thrown together.
All equally terrifying creatures, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, Ailsa's actually really respecting the Sedgemoor Witch here. Gonna use 5 mana to cast this Shadowcloak Smashing, but wow, what a blowout. Fading Hope could return that one to hand.
And we thought one Sedgemoor Witch was difficult enough for Ailsa. Ailsa doesn't know that Annabelious even has a second Sedgemoor Witch in hand. So even if that one went away and we didn't Fading Hope it back to the hand, it was still not going to be the last that we'd see of this Sedgemoor Witch.
I'm loving how this match is playing out, turning into like a real grind fest here in game number 2.
And I feel like it's still anyone's game. Ailsa is doing a very good job of playing this game with extreme patience, really trying to hold out on some of these cards, really respecting what counter magic Annabelious could have. Unfortunately, though, Annabelious hasn't had a lot of counter magic, just a lot of answers.
Firebridge Tracker joins the hand for Ailsa. Could think about maybe starting to deploy these Goldspan dragons, get a little bit more mana going.
Yeah, I do wish it was what we were seeing, but I understand why Ailsa is scared to play into some potential counter magic in Annabelious's hand. But for that reason, I kind of wish we were doing something maybe more like Innistrad Predator into crewing to start getting more tokens with this chariot.
it's kind of interesting, right? Because now the Sedgemoor Witch is down and online. You've not been able to deal with it. The ground is kind of covered, right? It's I believe the technical, highly professional term is gummed up.
There we go. Yeah.
And so now you really got to take the fight to the air if you're Ailsa, and I think she recognizes that as well. Godspan Dragon flying across, making a treasure. This second Sedgemoor, which is going to be pretty brutal, though.
Yeah, and
Now
we see
2 tokens.
now it's 2 tokens, and Annabelious is making the aggressive play of making this Blood Chief's Thirst cheaper by going for a cheaper creature. And I like this play, getting aggressive with these pests, because we have so many of these pests that we can really start to poke at Ailsa's life total. And even if pests are blocked, that's not a big deal, because they're still going to deal that 1 damage. And heck, better yet, they're going to heal Annabelious for 1 as well.
Okay, so it's double witch against potential triple dragon on Ailsa's side. Not quite enough mana to play both of the other 2 dragons in hand right now, but could go something like dragon attack Immerston Predator.
That would not be too bad. However, with 11 life on the field, it would be a little bit scary to just leave 2 blockers in the face of Callahan and Immerston Predator. Though the other options aren't that great either.
I mean, it just feels like the race is on.
It is. It certainly is.
Of course, that dragon is massive thanks to Callahan's ability as well. So, okay, this is a huge attack for 10. Annabelious is down to 8, has 5 pests, but would need to find some way of getting them to die if she wants to gain the life off them.
Well, she will be doing an attack for a total of 11 damage next turn with the 5 pests and the 2 Sedgemoor Witches. So the attack with both of them would force probably a double block with whatever creature Ailsa decides to play this turn, and the Callahan onto a Sedgemoor Witch, only going to 3. But I imagine that we could also, for Annabelious, use this Blood Chief's Thirst, take care of 1 of the creatures, get 2 more pests, make this attack. Just Callahan cannot block both of the Sedgemoor Witches as they have Menace, and then you have to block 1 of the pests. If the pests die, you win the game anyway, so I believe that is going to be Annabelious's path to victory here.
Finds a blood on the snow as well. So a little bit of backup. But Annabelious probably just thinking that she wants to try and push through the last couple of points.
If you're Annabelious, I believe you also, with the Blood Chief's Thirst to win this turn, has to target Callahan, because if you target Briarbridge Tracker, it just crews Eska's Chariot, and then Ailsa would have 2 blockers. So I believe that if we want to win this turn, assuming that there are no removal spells in the hand of Ailsa, Blood Chief's Thirst on Callahan.
Blood Chief's Thirst on Callahan, but can't the Briarbridge Tracker block a pest?
Yes, but then the pest would deal that damage when it dies.
Oh wait, the pest is a drain?
I believe so. I could be wrong. I might be playing too much Commander.
I think it's just a game. I think it's just a gain one. Yeah.
I've been playing too much Commander with Dana.
I think so. I think it would be Strixhaven would have been a very different format.
Very different set with that?
Yeah, for sure. So I think
1 is still not too bad to put Ailsa to, though.
No, for sure. It is going to be the full smash, as it were. Don't say that again, honey. And Annabelious is actually not going to use the removal spell pre-combat. Let the blocks happen. So it looks like it might be a blood on the snow. Get used to a low life total. Blood on the snow will destroy everything. But because of its second ability, Annabelious can actually reanimate a creature that has a mana value less than the number of snow permanents, plus gain 1 billion million life from these pests. So has the menace attacker for lethal, up to 14 dragons dealt with, and now the onus is on Ailsa to produce something in the next couple of turns.
Ooh.
Go blank.
Okay, go blank is not the blocker that you need. I'm trying to figure out. So we have the 2 treasures, and then 5 is 7. So we can't play 2 creatures to block the menace attacker and do the go blank this turn, which has got to feel a little bit bad. But you do need to be playing. Oh, this is so unfortunate, actually. Because anything we play is just going to get removed by this Bloodchief's Thirst.
Right. Oh, just one. Is it 1 mana off?
I believe
because
so.
You could Callahan, make a treasure, right? And then maybe it's still not enough. I think it's still not enough to get.
I think you would have
blockers.
to. Yeah, you would need to. I mean, we can have 2 blockers, but we need 3 blockers technically because 1 is just going to die to the thirst.
Right.
And it's got to feel really bad that you can't use this go blank.
Yeah, and you would need to crack both treasures as well. It's just really unfortunate because you had to. You also couldn't play the dragon into Callahan because you couldn't crack the treasure for red and black.
Yeah.
Oh no. All right, so Ailsa just passes the turn, says, well, something's got to happen here, and sees the bad news. That is the removal spell. Wait.
Oh, we do have this Eska's Chariot, though. So it's the same thing that I mentioned in the last turn. We needed to go for the Callahan because Callahan can't crew Eska's Chariot.
So maybe a little bit of a misstep here for Annabelious. Targeted the Goldspan Dragon. That meant that Ailsa could crew the Chariot. If that is the difference in this game, that could be real heartbreak here for Annabelious in game number 2. Finds another copy of Innistrad Predator. Now is there enough mana? There's still not enough mana to Predator and go blank.
Oh, how unfortunate.
Wait. What if you Predator?
Oh, there is. Oh, no, it's a clue, not a treasure. It's a clue.
It's a clue. Yeah. So what if you Predator, crew the Chariot, attack, make another treasure? Does that work? That doesn't
I don't know that works.
All right. There it is.
All right. This time we need to go for Callahan because Innistrad Predator can crew Eska's Chariot, but this divide by 0 could do it.
All right. May as well do the deluge first. Get that. Oh. Okay. There's an Infernal Grasp as well. But still, Annabelious needs to... Well, it needs to be targeting the Callahan to get lethal. Let's see what happens here in the key turns of game number 2. Ailsa already a game up with Jund Treasures, thanks to the power of Innistrad Predator. Oh no, Annabelious does not find the line and is going to pass the turn. And here's a nifty little interaction. Innistrad Predator use that to crew the Chariot, and that does a nice job of getting the Memory Deluge out of the graveyard as well.
Yeah, and that's going to feel a little bit bad. Cards in hand for Annabelious are starting to become very good, but the more creatures Ailsa can commit to this board, the more difficult it becomes for Annabelious to get that damage through. And Innistrad Predator, as we saw in game 1, very difficult for the matchup with Annabelious. This divide by 0, a good answer to it for a little bit, but with a second one in the hand of Ailsa, I'd love to see it get slammed onto the battlefield and really just start to hold down the fort.
I'd love to see Go Blank being cast here. Of course, we know about the Lear in hand. Ailsa doesn't know how devastating the Go Blank would be. at this stage of the game here is that second Innistrad Predator. It'll be pretty devastating as well. Not quite enough mana there for Annabelious to do something like divide by 0 plus use an Infernal Grasp. So we play on. Oh, and that's going to do it. Divide by 0, sending back one of the creatures. And because of the number of pests that Annabelious had managed to make over the last couple of turns and the low life total that Ailsa was at, we are going to be seeing a deciding game number 3 here between Jund Treasures and Blue-Black Snow.
Whew. All right, this is interesting. I'm surprised to not see any kind of play draw changes, though. I think that duress, especially on the play, is potentially much better because you'll see whatever the like beginning keep of whatever spell like was worth keeping in Ailsa's hand. I would have maybe on the draw liked to see them all taken out for something else, but Annabelious, as we mentioned, has play tested with Ailsa and probably has more experience in this matchup than me, and has probably decided that it is certainly worth keeping in.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, you know, if you feel like you can't beat something like a Go Blank, right? Or a Chariot that gets down early when you haven't found your sweeper, like, there are definitely applications, shall we say, for that duress. Both players looking at pretty rough 7s. Both players are going to send those back. Ooh. Is this a bit better?
I mean, at least it's an easy decision as to what goes back, but Sedgemoor Witch, as we saw, was a great sideboard card in the last game, and accompanied with the Fading Hopes can be quite good at keeping Annabelious in the game just long enough to pull ahead. So I think that this is a pretty strong keep. And that Soul Shatter could have been really nice for taking care of something like an Innistrad Predator, but I imagine that might be the thing that we see go, as it is the most powerful card in the hand for Annabelious and is also very good against Goldspan Dragon.
Oh, I would not want to see that Soul Shatter. I'd be like, nope, that is out of here. Yeah, there it is. And Ailsa also has some removal of her own. Infernal Grasp able to deal with this Sedgemoor Witch now that she knows it's coming.
Oh, this is going to be kind of an intense game, because even though we have these Fading Hopes, the only creatures in Ailsa's hand right now are these Goldspan Dragons, and getting some treasures off of a Fading Hope targeting a Goldspan Dragon is honestly not that bad for Ailsa.
Ailsa does find a Magda, or should we say Annabelious does find a target for
there you go.
Fading Hope.
Oh,
there's Leo.
I feel like Annabelious might be keeping Lear on the top with a little bit of personal bias here.
I don't know. It's one of the most powerful cards in the deck, maybe the most powerful card. I can definitely, you still have a Fading Hope. You have another Scry going, as we see Infernal Grasp sending Sedgemoor Witch on his way. Ooh. And now it's Ailsa that needs to find lands.
Ooh, and with the duress, this has got to feel kind of bad to have to, Oh. I mean, the lands are okay because it's going to allow us to get to Lear. Lear can't be targeted by this duress, so the Fading Hope has to be the thing taken out. And Lear is going to make it so that we can flash back the Fading Hope, so that's not too bad. And is showing that at least the duress isn't as devastating for Annabelious' deck as we might have previously thought.
Yeah, so you never want to see 4 lands off your Memory Deluge, but when duress is on the stack, that's like the time you would want to see it.
Exactly. Certainly not too bad if you're on the side of Annabelious. Just a Magda in play for Ailsa, though, and now a Goldspan Dragon on the stack, but is going to get Jawari Disruption, which
get that out of here.
That feels pretty bad.
Absolutely not. And then another consideration, of course, you want to use your Jawari Disruption before Lear comes down, because Lear is a symmetrical effect. Spells cannot be countered, and that means you cannot counter your opponent's spells either.
Oh, okay. I learned something new about that card today, then. Not like I play a lot of control decks, but, in case I do.
You should give it a go sometime, Beky.
I've played some control decks. I've been known to play a few, but I do like me some creatures and some planeswalkers and some mid-range. Usually my control magic comes in my mid-range sideboards in the forms of negates and duresses, but
That's not the full commit, though, is it?
It's
Beky?
not the full.
You know, you should. There's nothing quite as thrilling as just submitting 0 creatures in the main.
Now that we have Counterspell in Modern, you might see me register a
so
Counterspell
good.
in Modern.
I will say I've been watching a lot of Wafatafa's stream.
Okay.
In Modern, and he, of course, for those of you who don't know, Guillaume Wafatafa, a control master from of yore, shall we say, and just watching him play control is just insane. He literally, I literally don't understand any of the actions he takes, and yet, wow, Ailsa is gonna scoop it up. Cannot beat the value provided by Leah, and wow, what a turnaround in that game for Annabelious. We saw Ailsa take down game number 1 with, a pretty commanding win. And then game 2, quite a grindy one, but a lot of back and forth in that one. Maybe, a little bit of mislethal on one side, a little bit of not pushing hard enough on the other side. And then, wow, just the value provided by Leah getting the job done for Annabelious in game 3. Great job.
Yeah, it feels like it was a little bit preemptive from Ailsa's side, but the more I kind of think about it, that Soul Shatter was in the graveyard and something that could be flashbacked by Lear, and with all of the Fading Hopes that were also in there, it's very easy to get rid of all the other things that are on the board, as well as make sure that Soul Shatter is hitting one of those big targets that you want it to hit, and it's just got to feel like it's not a great position to be in if you're Ailsa. So the more I think about it, the more I understand that maybe Lear actually, it proved me wrong. Okay in that matchup.
All right, well, Beky, it's been a pleasure. That is going to do it from our feature matches from week 1 of season 6 of the VML. Season 6. When we are back next week, it's going to be, I believe, Lady of the Crease and Aria, who will be your amazing hosts for this show. When we come back next week, we're also going to have some results from week number 1 of our Werewolves versus Vampires feature event, shall we say. What we're doing this season is that we've randomly signed all the players, either werewolf or vampire. Beky, what did you get?
I'm a werewolf.
Oh, me too. And we're going to tally up how werewolves and vampires are doing in terms of match wins each week, and you might also get to see some cool effects on the show based on who's currently ahead. So that's also look forward to next week. Make sure you're following us on Twitter, twitter.com/VMLMTG. You can check out the website, including all of the divisions, all of the standings, all of the decks people have submitted at VMLMTG.com. Of course, we will be back here next week, 6 p.m. Pacific. Thank you so much to NRG Series, who are our WPM partners. Thank you so much to Wizards of the Coast for making this possible. Thank you so much to Beky and to her lovely Apollo. Is that?
Yes, this is Apollo. He's saying yes, go werewolves.
Go werewolves. And oh my goodness, I can't stop looking at him. He's just so adorable.
He's so sweet. He's got a little bit of a hurt paw and has a vet appointment, so good vibes for him tomorrow.
Okay.
But
all right.
But also good vibes for werewolves.
Good vibes for werewolves. Good vibes for Apollo. Thank you so much to everyone for tuning in. Thank you for sticking with us. We will see you again next week. Until then, good night and have a great one.